This might be a little bit strange for you, because we don't see Evelyn being banned out that often, but Kip Carey really loves playing Evelyn, so...
I mean, if Kip Carey is so good at playing Evelyn, then just ban it away. Evelyn can be such an irritating champion because of her invisibility, so just take that away.
Yeah, definitely, and they immediately take away Nidalee as well. Nidalee is one of those, again, you are not familiar with the Benelux just yet, but Nidalee is one of those champions that they really want to be picking up. A lot of pressure, of course, and Donny will not be happy that Nidalee got taken away. So yeah, we'll see what. Yeah, go ahead.
I just got home from a LAN party called Net Party Fyn, and Nidalee was such a dominating champion right there. So obviously you definitely might want to ban it away. I mean, as you said, I haven't seen a lot of the Benelux teams, but Nidalee, I know that she can be so frustrating to play against because she is so good at invading. She can deal so much damage in a 1v1 scenario, and once she gets her runic echoes, she can really start to deal so much damage, and that is why she is a powerhouse in the early game.
And next we see Kled being banned out, Cannon being banned out. Well, Cannon, we've seen him at the World Championship. Some really good slicing maelstroms. We actually saw Cannon last week as well in a few very interesting fights, I believe with Easy Visualize. But Kled's getting banned out. Now, that's something I'm quite surprised about. What does Kled bring to the team?
Well, he does bring a lot of engage if you know how to play him, obviously. He hasn't really come out and shown his potential yet. He's not that good as a champion in a 1v1 scenario. He is obviously a split pusher as he's meant to be, but there are just people that does what he do better. I mean, you have Echo, you have Rumble, you can even get Shen and Cannon. All of those, they just bring way more utility to the team, way more split pushing power, and that is why you obviously see those instead of Kled. But if the top laner of Asterion knows how to play the Kled, then you don't want to give him that opportunity to get a comfortable champion.
Yeah, exactly. So we also see Gnar getting removed here as well as Olaf. So Gnar has been playing a little bit of is a standard top laner that we've been seeing since season 4, I think. He's been basically there all the time, very solid as well. But it's a little bit surprising when you also have the option to, of course, get rid of, say, what you see now, Jhin getting picked up here by African top laner.
And Syndra for that matter as well, because Syndra is such a strong mid laner in this current meta. The meta is so evolved around mid laners like Cassiopeia and Aurelion Sol that can roam around and have a lot of laning presence as well. So you get Syndra instead that can shut those down with her balls. She has so much burst, and someone like Aurelion Sol and Cassiopeia don't really have a chance. So when you get Syndra on top of your team composition, you get such a strong team fighting potential as well. And she did also get buffed in the recent patches.
Excellent. Looking back on the other side, we see Shen and Ezreal getting picked up. Now, Kronos is one of those guys who really does not like Ezreal. What are your thoughts on Ezreal here?
I'm a huge fan of Asterion in the current meta because he brings a lot of utility to the team, and in a meta where you see so much focus around the mid lane and the top lane, you can't get an AD carry who wants to be scaling into the late game, and therefore you go for Asterion. And then on top of that, you do have the Elise, so that means that you can obviously still do a lot in the early game with an Elise while getting a little bit of a late game insurance.
Looking back on the other side of the champion select screen, we're looking at Lee Sin and Zyra. So I believe that Lee Sin played a very pivotal part in one of the big plays from last week. I believe it was with Looper, and Lee Sin is one of those champions that has such a high skill ceiling.
Yeah, he definitely has, and he is also one of the only early game junglers left there with Nidalee being banned out and Elise being picked up. You could go for something like Graves, but then with Lee Sin you have a little bit more of an engage, and you definitely need that with the way that you have been picking over on Asterion. You don't have that engage coming out yet. If you want an early game jungler, of course, you could have gone for Zac if you wanted more engage, but early game jungler is the way that they want to play, and therefore Lee Sin is a good pickup.
Right, and of course you have Zyra. And speaking of being able to engage, Zyra is actually more of the counter engage or the disengage, I imagine.
I'd say she is the counter engage. You don't really want to engage with Zyra. It's really hard to do so. Snare is definitely not something you should be able to hit. That is only if mCon is not aware of where Zyra is. So it's more of a disengage, and it also helps with peeling for Jhin, because if he can keep his enemy at an arm's length, then it'll be so much easier to come up with the necessary damage and the DPS, and therefore getting Zyra is so good, and she is also one of the best laning phase supports that you can get. And with Jhin, if you can land your dead floors with Zyra's Q, then it is pretty easy to set up ganks.
Exactly. On the other side, we see Vladimir getting picked up as well as Alistar. So Alistar also has been playing a pretty big role in most of the tournament, either being banned out or, well, being picked up. Very high big ban rate. And I reckon that comes down to his displacement abilities.
Definitely doesn't. With Alistar being picked up, you do get a fairly strong lane. I think you do have Alistar, you have Asterion, and while some could argue that it is not a strong lane, I am a big fan of Alistar right now, just because with the Polarize you can make so many plays, and on top of that you have Asterion, who can actually do a lot of damage in the early game if he's allowed to land his Mystic shots and a few auto attacks. And against someone like Zyra or Jhin, who doesn't have a lot of mobility and who are also fairly squishy, setting up a gank for Elise with a flash and a Polarize can be so easy for mCon.
Definitely. All right, so final pickup will be Fiora going into the top lane with the African top laner, slowly loading into the game. We have a 3-minute spectator delay, of course. That means we're going to be looking at the total compositions soon. However, first, of course, I need to remind you that tickets are still on sale for the grand finals at the Amsterdam Arena. If you're going to ESL Benelux.nl, you can actually go to, I believe, you can directly go to the finals by just clicking on Go. Of course, it's the left Go. After that, you can click on tickets, and you should be able to get them right from that site. And you can also get them for the other events, of course, that will happen there. I believe it's CSGO and Hearthstone that will be at the same place with CSGO on a different day, if I recall correctly. So that's the thing to keep in mind, and perhaps even buy some tickets. I strongly urge you to do so, because last time it was a lot of fun. And perhaps we can repeat the trick from last time. In the meantime, though, with about 2 minutes to go, looking at both the teams, Ben, which team are you looking? Well, is looking better than the other, or is it more of a difference in composition altogether?
It is a difference in both compositions. On the red side, you do have a little bit more of a pick composition. They aren't really looking for those team fights. You have Shen and you have Zyra, who really wants to get ahead in the early game, shut down Grenache on the Asterion. And if you can do that on top of, with the help of Lee Sin, well, then you will buy a lot of time for African top laner to get rolling on that Fiora and be a split pushing threat. And obviously in the mid lane, you have Syndra versus Vladimir, who are going to be dominating that lane, because Vladimir doesn't bring a lot to the table, whereas someone like Syndra just brings so much more in terms of laning phase power. Sorry. And then on the mCon side, you have a little bit more of a team fight composition. While they have a lot of late game scalingness, I am a bigger fan of their composition, just because I think that their win scenario seems so much clearer for me, because you have Asterion and Vladimir, and while they want to be scaling, the Alistar will help Asterion get to that point where he is going to be strong, like when he gets the Mirror Mana and the Ice Gauntlet. That's where he really gets online in terms of DPS. But in terms of Vladimir, you have Elise, who will always help him in order to survive. And Shen, while he's a tank, his Q, his sword, like the Spirit Sword, will actually deal quite a lot of damage. And then on top of that, you have Elise with the Cocoon, and she is an ability power carry in the early game in the jungle. I am such a huge fan of her because of her damage output that potentially can come out once he gets the Runic Echo, so just a few components of it. So Elise will be such a huge part of mCon's composition if they are to win this game, because else they will just be outscaled in terms of laning phase power, where they will be shut down and their laning phase, their late game scaliness might not be a reality after all.
All right, so let's see how that will actually play out in the actual game. We had a long analysis here, of course. Thank you to Ben, and so looking at the scoreboard, mCon probably one win away from Amsterdam. Nothing is, of course, certain, but there's a good chance that just winning the next round, or rather this match, is enough to put them in Amsterdam. When we're looking at Asterion at the bottom of the scoreboard at the moment, so I believe they only have 3 points out of 3 matches, so that isn't all that much, and they won their match against Uncharted and lost against Pariah and Team Game Gear, and they still have quite a few hard opponents on their agenda. Sector 1, of course, Lache de Gerda's on Monday, the last play week, so they need to get the points right now. If they don't get them in time, it is all over. Later tonight, of course, like we said, we will have the team of Easy Visualize against... No, not Easy Visualize. Doesn't work out. Easy Visualize against Uncharted. Yeah, I was already wondering. Things they switched up the schedule. So, in any case, ladies and gentlemen, we are getting on the Rift on the blue side. We have Fjordur Forklift, we have Donny, Sebs, Brenash, and Nightmare's Law on the other side. It's African top laner Kip Carey, Brocon, Drakli, and Paga, and they're all moving out straight towards their opponents. Most likely, we're going to see the same thing as we see every time. A nice split between the two teams. All entrances covered.
Exactly. There is literally no reason to try and do anything cheeky here in the early game. For mCon, you just want to get an easy win so that you can get to Amsterdam, and then on the other side of Asterion, you are hungry to get some points. You don't want to fall too far behind of the pack, and if you can get a point here against mCon, well, that is definitely showing with them being on top of the ladder.
Exactly. So for now, both teams just trying to feel each other out here. You can see a little bit of a scuffle between Elise and Lee Sin. Sonic Wave being tossed out, and of course the Spider as well, I believe. Yes, the Spider getting tossed out by Donny. And they're just preparing, taking their time. Not all that much happening. Alistar, I like his positioning here. Just waiting, and perhaps also understanding that most likely his opponents are going straight for the enemy, for the Gromp. And that's actually a thing here because, well, with Zyra, it should be easy to take a Gromp, and that's why Nightmare and Brenash are just going to get ready. You can see Jin setting up here. They're thinking about it.
Yeah, I thought he was going to go down to Alistar and Ezreal, so that could have been some very fun early game action, but they are just going to be moving into that jungle of Asterion to try and delay Drakli and Paga. So with them delaying them getting to laning phase, that means that Paga will have taken a little bit of damage, but Brenash has won a lot of time for himself.
Yeah, and exactly, and the advantage is they don't get that experience. So that's a big thing to keep in mind, as Brenash is just going to farm here. Drakli the same, most likely just trading some blows here, and you can see Drakli and Paga pushing in, looking to secure that level 2 as fast as they can. But in the meantime, middle lane, Sebs and Procon. Sebs now also level 1. And this is the thing, I guess, Syndra, like you said, is probably going to be dominating the early game against Vladimir.
Yeah, Syndra just to have more damage than Vladimir. And Vladimir has also received a lot of nerfs in the last few patches. In patch 6.17, he received a nerf that meant that sorry, not patch 6.17, 6.18, I mean. He received a nerf that meant that he would get less healing because of his transfusion, empowered healing going down, and his types of blood also having a lower CD. And then in patch 6.20, instead of...
Donny mid lane, straight for Procon. Procon will have to flash the repel going out. The flash has already been used. Will Procon go down? One more hit from Donny, burning, but Donny didn't get that last hit in. If he got one more hit in, it would have been fine. But no, Donny was just a little bit too late, and Procon gets away safely.
Nice gank coming in from Donny, allowing himself to land that cocoon immediately and then dealing a lot of damage onto Procon. And now, with the flash and the ghost being down from Procon, getting a return gank in could be so good for Donny because there's literally no mobility on the side of Procon, and that can be abused very easily with someone like Elise.
Speaking of abusing, Lee Sin is already moving into the enemy jungle. Kip Carry now behind Brannash and behind Nightmare. They're setting up for that push. You can already see the minions getting shoved into the tower. And once that actually happens, it is going to be Kip Carry who decides to just back away. Ward over the wall perhaps, but he's just going to be backing away. Takes only the big crook and heads over towards the Scuttled Crab. Takes that one out with ease. But very aggressive play here by Grackly and Paga in that bottom lane. And now in the mid lane, Donny, well, actually moving into the enemy jungle as well. Might be an encounter there.
I'm a big fan of Kip Carry getting that Skull Crab in the bottom side, because you know that is where you have your strong side, and that is where you need to shut down the enemy Asterion. So if you can get those to have a lot of safety, well, then it should be easy for Paga and Grackly to start to hit onto that tower, start to bring down some rain onto Brannash, and shut him down. You know, if they can take away his power spikes and delay them, well, then mCon, they will have a lot of time waiting before they really start to bring a lot of damage, because their top laner, again, he is a tank, and Vladimir has been heavily nerfed in the last 4 patches, where he was like nerfed in 2 of them.
Meantime though, we saw Donny saying hi to Procon in the middle lane. Not doing much, just heading towards his jungle again. Going to go back to base, getting a few items. Most likely going to be finishing off the first part of his jungle item. No, actually going for mobility boots, so more ganking will be coming in from Donny, I imagine. And every single member on mCon has already gone back to base, except for Vladimir. And that should give them a little bit of relief in their lanes. Tear of the Goddess has been picked up by Ezreal. We are seeing Ruby Crystal being picked up by Alistar, so looking to build that one into the, I guess, the Sidestone combination. You know that better than I do, Ben.
Yeah, that will most likely be a Sidestone combination. But if you take a look at the CS coming out from mCon, well, they are ahead in most of their lanes. And Donny, oh wait, Kip Carry's in the bottom side.
Yeah, Kip Carry going in, but he gets locked up, he goes down, and oh my word, he runs straight into the cocoon from Mrs. Elise, and he couldn't really do much about that. He had no vision there. He tried to come in for a gank, and then suddenly there was Donny, and he got locked up completely. Donny actually heading towards the middle lane. Procon in a lot of trouble. Will he get hit by the cocoon? Cocoon goes out. Long range cocoon actually hits the flash forward. Everyone jumps on Procon, and Procon gets destroyed. Donny actually survives that. Very good gank.
Very good gank indeed. And you can already see that mCon, with that Elise pick that I really talked a lot about in the pick and ban phase, you can see that they have that early game pressure that they need in order to make this composition work. Because if they can't make this composition work, then they will fall behind early game. But Grackly is taking damage again.
And immediately actually turning it around onto Brannash. Brannash will go down, and now they're onto Nightmare's Law, but he will be safe. But yeah, Grackly was taking damage, and then suddenly they just turn around, try to take on Brannash, and well, I guess the Ignite helped a lot against that heal.
It definitely did help a lot, and Paga and Grackly, they got that kill. Unfortunately, the kill went over to Paga, but Grackly with that serrated dirk definitely brings a lot of damage to the table already here, and that is a good sign for Asterion. You need to pull this gold lead a little bit back into your favor. Now you're only behind 300 gold, which isn't that big of a lead from mCon, but still mCon, they have that spider, Donny, and he has the boots of mobility, so he can run around the map really fast, making a lot of plays, and you have already seen this come online. Yeah, don't get a lot of CS, where you can see Kip Carry is ahead of him with like 7 CS, but just getting those ganks out, allowing his team to get to the power spikes even faster.
Alright, yeah, and so, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very short break here, because the TeamSpeak, I believe, from mCon has crashed, or there's some issue with TeamSpeak, I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, well, we are seeing a lot of, well, plays coming out here, and to be fair, I'm not entirely sure what Branish and Night Middle were thinking in that bottom lane. Like you said, because they lost their life, now the gold count has been brought back up to only a 400 gold difference. But yeah, let's see where the gold count is. Yeah, it's actually a 400 gold advantage for Jin at the moment.
Yeah, and with Jin nearly having enough to go back and get a Caulfield's Warhammer, that is not a huge power spike per se, but he's getting closer and closer to getting that Yumu's Ghostblade. And Brenner's not even having anything else that his tier is lacking behind in terms of damage, and he won't be able to fight at all with Grackley. So if Kip Carry can come down to the bottom lane, abuse the fact that his AD carries ahead of the enemy AD carry, start to make the snowball roll, then Asterion, they actually have a pretty good lead to go for in this game. But then again, mCon, they have Donny, who has the boots of mobility, who has a kill as well, and he's only getting closer and closer to getting that runic echoes, because once you get that, then he's going to be so strong. And if he can just continue to go to the mid lane and shut down Procon, well, Seps can start to help his side lanes as well.
Exactly. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have unpaused the game, so the Farm Fest will continue. Perhaps a few more ganks. In the meantime, Lee Sin and Elise mirroring each other's movement in the jungle, exactly mirroring at the moment, actually. And yeah, top lane, Theodore Forklift having a slight CS advantage over his opponent, Mr. Top Laner. On the looking in the middle, we have a slight CS lead for Seps over Procon, about 14. And in the bottom lane, it's relatively the same, but of course, like it was pointed out, the Caulfield, well, at least some of the reagents for the Caulfield's Warhammer are picked up. So double longsword, and yeah, Brenash behind in damage, most likely just going to be stacking up that tier and trying to farm towards, I guess, the Manamune. That seems like a good plan.
Yeah, just get the Manamune. That would allow you to get the most damage out. I'm not a fan of going for an Iceborne Gauntlet immediately as an Ezreal, tier into Iceborne Gauntlet. I'm not a fan of that because it really takes away a lot of the damage that you potentially could have, and it forces you into getting the boost of Lucidity as well, just because you need to get the CDR necessary to use your Mystic Shots all the time. But as you said, the Longsword has come out from Grackley, and that means that his laning phase power is so huge, and he can bring so much damage out to someone like Brennish.
Yeah, exactly. If we're just looking at the amount of attack damage that they both have, Brennish only at 80, whereas Grackley is at 132. That's a massive, massive difference in terms of damage. And yeah, Brennish has to play it very safe. But fortunately, Donny is there to assist. But Donny can't really make anything happen. I mean, there's already a ward here, so that one will spot out Donny when it happens. And well, actually, they're letting the lane push back. Smart move here. They're moving towards Donny. Will Donny actually be able to make a play happen? In the meantime, it's Mr. Top Laner moving towards the middle lane as well, but now backing away. So Donny tried to go for the cocoon in the bottom lane, but could not get Grackley.
I would have been a huge fan of seeing Nightmares just use his flash and do a flash polarized combo, but that would mean that Paga still had the Strangleforce that could have dissuaded Donny and the rest of his team to go in and try and kill Grackley. But then again, you just use some time down there. So Asterion, they have been put behind a little bit in terms of mCon has been put a little bit behind in terms of overall movement on the map. They used a lot of time down there in the bottom lane, and that means that Donny, he could have farmed even more, and is now behind a lot of CS compared to Kip Carry.
Yeah, but fortunately, because he got those kills, he's not that far behind in terms of CS, as the continuation of the bot lane ganks is there. We have Donny once again in that brush, is getting spotted out with a ward, and I like how Paga and Grackley are just standing there wasting Donny's time. Donny now finally understands, no, I can't go for the gank, I'll have to backs away into his own jungle, and is actually looking to go around this time. But it will be just backing away here. In the meantime, Lee Sin continuing his farm spree, finally catching up in terms of gold, but Other than that, it just ends up being a very slow-paced part of the game after those initial 3 kills.
And the Sin just removed the mirror wards that were in the mid lane. You could see that there were 2 pink wards, one in the top side bush of the enemy side, and then one in the river ward. So they were able to just mirror each other because the mid lane were a hotspot for a lot of ganks. And now Kip Carry, he had a lot of vision on Donny. He knew he wanted the top side, so therefore immediately you see Asterion go onto that Cloud Drake, pick that up, and they now have a little bit more movement speed. But mCon shouldn't be worried at all. It is only a Cloud Drake, one of the Drakes that I consider being one of the weakest because they don't bring that much to the table in terms of overall stats, just a little bit of movement speed. Obviously you have a little bit of a pick composition on the side of Asterion, so more movement speed obviously helps in that sense.
Yeah, definitely, but it's something that we all have been agreeing upon even since the start of the first season of the ESL Benelux Championship, is that the Cloud Drake is pretty much not worth it. If you lose it, you can't really lie awake at night from losing one. And it also doesn't give any combat stats. It's only out of combat stats, so that's a big thing to keep in mind. In the meantime, though, Seps will be facing off against Procon. Seps now level 10, will be able to actually has maxed his transfusion, so is now doing a lot of damage whenever Procon gets near, and that's something that Procon has to be very careful about because he will get those hits in every so often. Donny now looking for Kip Carry, sees, oh hey, this red buff is mine, takes it away, very well done. And Kip Carry is in a lot of is not happy with that. Red buff quite important for him during a gank, gives him more slows. Now Donny moving in, looking for Procon, actually spots out the ward, so decides, I'll just go for this ward instead, because there's no point in staying in this middle lane to try and take down Procon. So, as always, it goes back to the status quo, just farm, farm, farm. And speaking of farm, both teams relatively close in terms of CS.
Obviously it is mainly just about farming in this point of the game for both teams, but I'd like to see mCon move their wards. Oh wait, actually Procon might have been visited. No, that ward will be removed and Asterion will see that Donny's there. But as I was saying, I'd like to see mCon move their wards ahead a little bit, because now they have a pretty huge power spike coming from Donny. He has his runic echoes, so a lot of damage can potentially come out from him, and with those boots of mobility, getting from lane to lane, ganking time and time again is not a problem at all.
In the meantime, also, we saw Sebs in the background taking out Procon, at the very least forcing him back to base, so technically taking him out is not really the perfect definition of it, but now finally Procon picking up the Moranonomicon, anti-healing item, and so Donny needs, correction, Seps needs to be a little bit more careful. They're actually pushing in onto this tower as top laner is moving in. Here is Stangenite coming in from Shen. Top laner in a lot of trouble, but here are the balls from Synda trying to be shoved into Forklift's face. But other than that, there's no further engage, so they just clear out the minions and try to go for the tower. Procon now on his own, desperately trying to defend the tower. Nice flash forward by Donny, going for the cocoon, actually lands the cocoon, and oh my word, they tried to take down Procon, but African top laner came in, and there's the double kill for Sebs, who just takes down Procon. Yeah, Procon just overstayed his welcome, and then it was also the top laner who decided, you know what, I'll go in again, and that was a very big mistake.
And with that triple kill, this also ought to be the first blood tower coming out from the side of mCon, just turning the heat up a little bit, gaining a huge advantage and giving the solo kill on that tower over to Seps. So he has a lot of gold to go spend. He's ahead of Procon with 2,000 gold, and now he has his Spirit Visage and Boost of Lucidity and even a Hextech Revolver, so he's packing so much damage. Procon, he has to be really careful now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that little fight, like you said, it completely turned around the game, and yeah, this is where you just have to, sometimes you just have to say, sure, we lost this one, we're backing away, we're just saying, okay, you can have the tower, nothing more than that. Issue was Asterion decided to stay a little bit too long, and that decision making, well, completely went off the rail, and as a result their entire hype train was derailed. So looking at the current position of everyone here, we see Procon, he was thinking about going to the bottom lane, perhaps together with Kip Carry, but first getting some wards up. Seps in the meantime just shoving out the lane, forcing Procon to, at the very least, fight back against it. We'll be clearing out all these minions here. And looking at the top lane, well, it's top laner once again back in the top lane. Just going to clear out this entire minion wave. So for now, perhaps in the bottom lane you can see Kip Carry moving in.
Ooh. Now I'd like to go back to a point I made earlier about moving wards ahead from the start of mCon. You can see that Donny, he started to move a lot of his wards up into the jungle, allowing them to like make more aggressive plays, because with all the aggressive plays that they can do, they can get an even bigger lead, and they have the power spikes necessary to do so, because you have the Runic Echoes and the Hextech Revolver from Donny, and obviously you have all of the items that I mentioned previously on Seps, so much damage can come out from mCon. And Asterion, they just need to be safe in the bottom lane, because that is where they are strong right now. But Grackley, without having a lot of mobility, has to be really careful. Like African
top lane, yeah, it's African top laner in a lot of trouble. Donny just waiting for his cooldowns to come back up, but top laner immediately dashing away, trying to escape as Kip Carry comes to back him up. And this fight is over, but this is going to allow Fjord Forklift and Donny to do a lot of damage to this turret. Turret down to 40%, 30%. Looking at about 20%, they dash immediately onto African top laner. He will go down, and there is also the Hemoplague. No, not the Hemoplague yet. Seps is actually saving this one, going straight for... There's the Hemoplague going for Procon. Procon will actually survive this one, but that is a lot of healing that Seps gets, and they get another tower. Bottom lane also a very hard push coming out from Paga, but it's Nightmare's Law who tries to engage. As, whoa, my word, I didn't expect him to go this deep in the top lane. Oh! Wow, that was incredible. Ben, did they just stay too long again?
They definitely did, and that means that even more kills will go to the favor of mCon. They will get 2 more towers, and you know, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs, but if you break all of your eggs, you can't make an omelet at all.
Yeah, definitely. At that point, it just becomes, well, scrambled eggs as they go straight for the bottom lane. Now Paga in a lot of trouble, will go down. Brennerst gets the kill. Now they're going for Grackley. But Grackley is too far in the back, but they did blow all the summoners in that bottom lane. Very well played once again by mCon. There's the curtain call coming out from Grackley. But it doesn't do anything at all. It will do a little bit of damage here to Nightmare's Law, but that's about it.
The lines simply weren't worth the candle. You can see time and time again that Asterion, they try to make an an aggressive play onto mCon. And mCon, they just take their time, slow and steady. They talk together as a team, and they allow themselves to make some defensive plays that'll turn out into their favor, because they are ahead. You can see that Fjord, he were immediately going down to the bottom side with the Stand United, helping his AD carry and support pick up another kill. And that is simply just all from a bunch of communication that is happening on the side of mCon, and Asterion not having an idea of which summoners and which ultimates are up from mCon.
And this is something that we need to keep an eye on, as Seps is trying to push out Procon. Procon forced backwards. And Kip Carry was waiting in the bottom lane, but actually got spotted out by one of the wards, so nothing too interesting there. But Donny and Seps, they're pushing this middle lane. Donny's just waiting over the wall here. He does have his flash available, so if he wants to, he can make that play happen. Procon not getting revealed just yet. Now finally Donny with a dash, but he can't really catch Procon, so now Procon will stay in the back. Kip Carry coming to assist. Forklifts standing on the side, looking for a possible target. Takes a lot of damage there. Here's the kick from Lee Sin. Fjord trying to escape, but he gets destroyed. And now Seps going, and Seps needs to be very careful here. Tries to escape this one. Will go. Oh, the Hemoplague saves him. Now they're on to the top laner, but can they actually do it? Seps still trying to escape, but he runs into Paga and he will get taken down.
That is a huge problem coming out from mCon. They should not have been in that position to get kicked by Kip Carry, allowing his team to pick them up. And you know, it should have just been, oh wait, Grackley is in trouble.
Yeah, well, he will be fine. He actually dodged the True Shot barrage, but he's too low to actually contest the Dragon. So immediately mCon going for well, a slightly more powerful dragon, the Ocean Dragon. Not really the one that they are looking for at the moment, but it will give them that additional regeneration if they so need it. Mid lane getting pushed here by Asterion, all 4 members right there, and as mCon is moving in, Stange Knight also coming there. Oh, nice block there by Syndra, but Forklift, he has the home guard advantage, so he can immediately dash in if he wants to. Almost gets stunned. Here's the Zyra ult. Doesn't hit anyone, so now they can actually continue in because there's no Zyra ult to stop them. Again, a beautiful ball from Procon right in the face of the cow. And for now, they are slowly but surely, they're actually out-rotating. They can't defend the middle tower, so they're going to be losing that middle inner turret. And that's yet another shot, chunk of gold going over to the team of mCon.
mCon just getting a bunch of advantages on top of each other. They should not have been able to get that tower, and they should not have been able to get that Ocean Drake, because Fjordor, Donny, and Seps, as far as I remember, were down after that fight with Cape Carry and Procon in the middle lane. And therefore, getting that Dragon is simply just a mistake coming out from Asterion. They should have been able to pull that trigger even faster to get that Ocean Drake. Now they are in a lot of trouble because you can see they're just pushing up into the bottom side. But I like what Asterion are doing. They're immediately going onto the Baron, and they can definitely trade this Baron for an inner turret if they can then use the Baron after that. But wait, are they? They're forced to back away.
Oh my god, there's Donny coming in, he kills 2, now he's on the Greg lead, another one goes down, it's a triple kill. The Baron is actually resetting, so that one is not going to happen, but they took too much damage, and then they backed away from the Baron just in time, and the African top laner just chilling out here in his, near his turret. I was going to say top lane turret, but it's actually the bottom lane turret. And this turret is just going down to 10%. One more hit, that should finish it. As the laser continues to fire on these minions here. Turret down, and yes, now it is finally down, which means an open inhibitor in the bottom lane. African top laner actually needs to be very careful that he doesn't get taken out here by Fjordor, Forklift and his buddies. And mCon decides, they're probably coming back to life, let's back away.
You know, there's an old saying called nothing ventured, nothing gained. But then there's also an old saying misery loves company, and that is what is happening for Asterion, because they could definitely have gotten that Baron, but they were just too far behind in order to tank it up. You could see that Cape Carry took so much damage, and the rest of his team were the squishy ones. He did not have African top laner to help him. And therefore, they don't get that dragon. They lose a bunch of towers again in the bottom side. And obviously a lot of kills as well gone over to Donny at the Baron pit. So the gold lead between Asterion and mCon has been increasing, and it's now close to those 10,000 gold. And you can see that just mCon, they definitely want to win this game in order to secure their spot at the finals in Amsterdam.
Yeah, they're playing very safe, very coordinated. They have lost a few of their champions at times. Not so much due to lack of tactics, but more just being dumb at us. That's all I can say about it. But for now, it looks like they have complete control of this match. Bottom lane inhibitor is open. Donny moving forward, tries to go for Procon. There's a slow Procon, forced to flash away, will survive this one, and immediately the turnaround. Maybe now Asterion going in. There's the curtain call, and Kip Carry going in. Paga also joining in the fight, looking for some juicy targets, but they can't do it. 4 ultimates down, 0 kills. And then we're looking on the other side. True Shot Rise is still there. The Unbreakable is still there, of course. The Hemoplague is also still available. So a lot of ultimates available on the side of mCon. And where is the Fiora going? We have no clue. Into the jungle. Well, technically, can't really blame her, but she gets spotted out. So now should have recalled a little bit earlier, I guess. Now finally is able to recall back to base, and the push continues from the team of mCon straight on the tower. Tower now will be just taking a little bit of damage.
But take a look at the vision coming out from mCon. They know that Baron is the next step. Oh wait, Procon got caught!
Gets hit, immediately gets jumped on by everyone. He will go down, and now from the side is Fjordor Forklift. Paga will get destroyed, pulled out of the ground, and as Brackley's dead. You'll play 3, 2, 1. A double kill for Sebs.
I did not know that the Hemoplague said floof when someone died. And
it does now. It does now.
It definitely does now. And I were talking about vision because that is the next step, the Baron from mCon. But that does not matter when 3 of the members of Asterion is down. They can just go onto their Nexus towers and perhaps pick up a conventionally win here.
Exactly.
26 minutes into the game.
And that's what they're doing right now. After the top lane is trying to survive, keep Curry jumping in. Can he get a kick in? No, he cannot. Brocon also reviving. Faga is also there, but the Nexus is going down, and it is going to be the team of mCon, the first team with 4 wins, and the only team with 4 wins out of 4 matches.